Radio Free Skaro! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 1014. I am a croaky Stephen in Edmonton.
I am a normal Warren in Vancouver.
And Kristen in Edmonton.
There you go. Chris just doesn't play along. It's fine. Yep. Voice still struggling because that is the story of 2025. Two colds which have sapped my will to speak. But that won't stop me from reviewing Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 5. The story and the engine. Is it and or ampersand? Wikipedia decided it was an ampersand. So when I searched for the story and spelled out, it says, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen the guy. And then I put in the ampersand.
I've never seen the guy. He's a drunk guy on the street in Simpsons. I never seen the guy.
Wikipedia is drunk. Before we get there, though, congratulations to everyone who participated in the Gallifrey 1 Hotel Derby.
Hotel Mageddon.
Yeah, got themselves a rune for Gallifrey 1 2026.
I got mine.
America Begs Canada to Come Back edition. Of,
Keep begging, America.
Yeah, once all the shipping yards are empty come fall based on all the tariffs, and they'll say, okay, Canada, tell you what, we'll not only we'll beg for you to come back, but on par, 1-for-1 exchange rate. That's our deal. That's our demands there, America.
I like this fantasy setting you've concocted against all evidence of current administration behavior.
You know what, though? In Seattle, I saw a story last week that some businesses in Seattle are actually offering 1-for-1 exchange rate.
Oh, yeah, I saw that too.
Visitors.
Yeah. You know what? It's not going to work. I'm not going.
No, I mean, they're already desperate for it. 3 months in, they're already desperate.
That used to be done all the time in a lot of border cities. It may still be. I don't know. I haven't been to one.
Yeah, some places would just take Canadian money. Like
everything at par.
If you're on the border.
That's true.
And near like Bellingham, that kind of place, yeah.
Yeah, KSPS Spokane, too.
Yes, definitely did, yes.
Yeah, still do.
They got most of their support from Edmonton and Calgary, which made me... Nothing makes me prouder as a Canadian than supporting an American broadcasting institution.
Exactly.
Especially America alone.
If the Americans don't want to do it, or at least some.
I don't know how far our dollar goes in Nigeria, but I'm just
less far than American dollars.
Just trying to segue to episode 5, the story and the engine, which I've put as an ampersand in the thing because I thought that's what the title was, but maybe
the BBC website says A&D. Not
it says A&D, but I don't think the ampersand exists in the English language. In England, it does. I'm just kidding. Yes, in a way,
they have the M dash, but not the N dash.
Oh, is that a fact? I didn't know that.
No, it's not a fact.
Okay, I have no idea.
So that's why I didn't know it, because it's not true.
No, Ina Elms writing, McCullum McPherson directing, Doctor Who in Lagos, Nigeria, Wales in 2019.
But a pretty good representation of it, given it's in Wales.
Given that, it's in a market and a barbershop. And basically,
to be fair, I've never been to Nigeria, so I can't definitively say that. Also, we got to say this sometime. 3 white guys talking about a very non-white guy episode of the show. So just take it as read. I'm going to make mistakes here.
What? Excuse Warren's racism is what he means to say. Is that
no,
I'm
not saying that. I'm just saying I will not know things that people I'm happy to be corrected on.
Well, especially the whole barbershop setting. I mean, you don't even know
exactly that alone. Like, look at this. So.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, even Inouye Elliams, who started going bald at age 25, as he said.
Amateur. Come on.
As he said in his interview with Amanda Ray Prescott and Den of Geek, he sort of like, he went around, because he did the, Barbershop Chronicles was the play that he wrote.
Yeah. And it's set in Nigeria, right? Is he Nigerian? I don't know.
He is Nigerian. He's Nigerian British.
Okay. He grew up in Nigeria.
Yeah, I think he was born in the UK, moved to Nigeria, moved back to the UK, I think is how it went. And he went around to many different barbershops, I think in Lagos, sort of like
He
just
said,
get a feel of
he
the
said
place.
sub-Saharan Africa.
Sub-Saharan Africa, just in general. And like he basically had to like, could you just like, I just need to like get a thing. And so in order to make it worth his while to be there, to make it the barbershop worth, he like, could you just maybe shave off that a little bit there? Because he didn't have much hair to cut off. So, just to get a feeling of the experience. But who wants to go first? Who wants to go first with their initial reactions?
Well, Chris went last time first, right? I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
So I
Stephen, why don't you go?
I liked it. Once again, though, for the fifth time running, I liked it much better the second time round than I did the first. My 1 a.m. viewings, magical though I thought they would be, I don't know. I just felt like at the end of going, did I like that? And maybe it's because when I get off, when I'm done watching the episode, like literally no one's talking about it because it's 8 a.m. in the UK and it's 3 a.m. in the East, so like no one is in my social media world has just watched it.
That happened to me at 8 in the morning when I watched it. There was nobody talking about it either. So
I watched it at 1 a.m. and it credits rolled within 2 minutes. I had a message from Ian McCann to talk about it.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
So we chatted for a few minutes about it.
Right.
Before I called it a night.
Maybe I don't invite conversation about it. I guess maybe that's it. No,
it's your standoffish nature.
Yeah, my general feeling is that I liked it. What I liked about it is that we have a black doctor and we're finally seeing a black doctor in a world where he is black. That sounds pat, but I think a lot of times we, as well-meaning white people, let's face it, we like to see black people doing white things, and that makes us feel like we're a
better way to put it is stuff we're used to. Right?
Exactly. Let's face it, like we love Bridgerton and we don't love Hamilton, but it's what, Hamilton is like, oh, it's diverse and everything, but really it's just black people doing the things that you've always seen in Jane Austen movies is kind of what Bridgerton is. And I love seeing Nigerian culture, West African culture, black culture represented in Doctor Who, written and directed, but crucially not edited by black people. And that we'll get to that because that's my one thing that I have. It's the editing style of this whole RTD2 era.
And what's good about it
annoys me, but
too is that they don't go, we have to over-explain this to everybody who isn't Nigerian. They're just like, well, keep up, just watch this and learn.
Exactly.
I'm glad they did it that way.
It assumes that like the most of the population has not been to Nigeria, which is great. But it doesn't treat us like idiots or anything like that. It doesn't like oversimplify it. I like the overall feeling of the story. It's something that Doctor Who has really never done for a full episode before, and I appreciated that. So
just to riff off your point, one thing that I quite enjoyed was just the glee on Shudigawa's face as he walked around the market.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
and just his interactions with the other people, the market sellers, and just his character was very much at home. Which
I like to think
exactly
that's Shudigawa actually reacting to it that way too, not just the character of the Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, he's an actor. But
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Having that interaction with it was a cool thing. And
I'm assuming I haven't looked at any of this, but I'm assuming Inua Ellam's play came after the Ice Cube Chris Tucker masterpiece Barbershop.
I have no idea actually. I don't know when that was.
So yes,
that was 96 or something.
It was.
But then definitely, this play was way after that.
But I mean, it wasn't. I mean, that's not where this starts. I mean, barbershops.
No, I'm just saying, like it's a topic that has that. It's a topic that has some coverage, isn't the right
it's
word.
It's a cultural hub.
But the cultural touchstone has been explored in media.
Yeah.
Coming to America, in '88.
Well, if you ever want to see a good, Chris Rock directed a movie called Good Hair, and it's all about black women's hair and how much it costs to get a weave, which is an insane amount of money.
Right.
It's a really good documentary, and I think he just narrates it. He's not in it or anything, as I recall. But I saw it quite a few years ago. But it's a good documentary if you're interested.
Yeah, like the barbershop is just like the safe space for black men, and I just find that so, they they let the guard down. They let their guard down. Like they share their feelings. They share it just feels
Which
like
is what the play is about. Yeah,
it just
this episode.
Yeah,
somebody's banged something.
That's me. I just hit my ward thingy.
I forget. I think it might have been Ennio Elms, but I forget who said it in the Unleashed, talking about how the barbershop is where like men can go and talk to other men about their feelings.
Yeah,
that was Elms. Yeah, he said that. Yeah,
and you got the barber there. He's touching, he's caressing, he's touching the neck. All these like things that toxic masculinity just doesn't go for.
And I could be wrong about this, but I think Nigeria is a pretty patriarchal society. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the impression that's why he's talking about it in that sense.
Right. I don't know about that, but so anyway, that's my initial impressions. Warren,
I think I was watching it. As I'm watching it, I was leaning in. I'm like, oh, that's always a good sign. I want to know what happens next. So I think this is probably my favorite of the season so far. Probably by quite a bit, actually. Right. It's definitely, Neil in the comments, and I've thought this myself, the plot doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, but the crucial difference, if you're going on vibes and the vibes are good, I don't care. If the vibes are bad, I do care. So like the vibes last week and kind of just hand waving did not agree with me. So is that a fair comparison? I don't know, but the vibes here were great. And also maybe part of it is I just don't know a lot of this stuff, so I just kind of let it carry me along, right? Oh, there's a spider with a giant mask on. All right, cool. Let's see where this goes, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so, the African mask was a nice touch on the spider, I thought.
I mean, and at the end, they show all the clips from it, and you kind of knew inevitably that was the way he was going to overload this thing, is with all the stories inside him. But it seemed, I don't know if earn's the right word, but it seemed to fit, as opposed to sometimes when it didn't feel as grafted on as it has the other times they've done it. I mean, it didn't feel as nostalgia baity. It felt more of a piece of what we were watching here.
I agree. Yeah, I know. It was just like the third or fourth time that we sort of had in the RTD2 era. Like basically, there's TVs with iPlayers everywhere because at the end of Empire of Death, this is let's crowd around and watch Pyramids of Mars on this TV.
And also they'd done that previous stuff with the animation, which reminded me of, I cannot remember the name of the episode, but the Jodie Whittaker one with those two gods, and they do all that cool animation of their origin story. And this was not quite that, but it was sort of reminded me of that, and I liked that it was kind of integrated into the set itself. And then so when the the greatest hits of Doctor Who shows up, I'm like, and all the quotes seemed to line up with what they were talking about too, which was also a nice thing. It wasn't just the standard, I walk in eternity type stuff, all of which is great, but this was a little more thought out than that, I thought. Also, I think Elms talks about watching Sylvester McCoy stuff as a kid, so this guy is a deep Doctor Who nerd. So so that was good to see too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going through the Jodie Whittaker box set. I've got to the point where my next one is The Timeless Child. We'll see how that holds up. But I totally forgot about the whole...
Speaking of which...
Yeah, I totally forgot about the whole gods, and they're playing around and screwing around with people, whatever thing from Can You Hear Me? But having watched that again just the other day, I was reminded, or I saw it again. Yeah, that was a good touch. I like that.
The one thing where I was way ahead of the game was when the barber says he's one of the gods. I'm like, well, you can't be part of the pantheon. You're not irritating. So far, every one of the gods is irritating.
He's not like laughing.
The toy maker and Maestro, they're all just, I'm a wacky dude, and this guy's just like more sinister. So I'm like, you don't seem like you're a pantheon guy. You're too cool for those guys.
Well, as I was watching these, like Nancy and Saga and Loki and Dionysus and whatever else he said, I'm like, yeah, if you are a god, then why would we have a god story that isn't part of the pantheon stuff? And then of course, he's not actually a god.
No, which I was fine with. Like, I didn't really quite understand exactly what his deal was, but I'm like, whatever, vibes. As I've said before, Prisoner, there's a show that's entirely vibes, and that's why it's cool. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it did work this time.
Yeah. Chris, your initial impressions of the episode in question.
I'm definitely going to echo what you said with the second viewing, really ramping it up. Unlike last week, because last week falls to shreds when you look at it with any kind of scrutiny. But no, this was possibly my favorite of the season as well. It's right now it's a toss up between this and Robot Revolution. But But yeah, it was quite good. The I had the direction was fine. The direction was good. The overhead shot as they're going through like the maze thing toward the end, phenomenal. Loved the fact that they built that as a set.
Yeah, I know.
Just like for how long was that overhead stuff? Like seconds, under a minute, and that's a lot of damn effort to go through to have just that little bit of.
That's an incredible
stuff.
set. Yeah.
And the casting was just so flippin' amazing.
Yeah, good call.
And then like top to bottom, like and it's obviously not that big of a cast. There's only 3, 4, 6 people outside of the main cast, but they're all cast very, 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 very well. And the show had the Nigeria consultant or whatever the
2 of them
was.
I think. Yeah.
There's only one listed in credits. I didn't take note of their name, but so I mean, just like they were doing,
Barry Island is where he lived. That's where Stefan Powell interviewed him on Doctor Who Unleashed. Yeah, but
apparently does a lot of stuff for other productions as well, or has done stuff for the productions. But I was going to say, took me off my train of thought, Stephen.
Sorry,
but anyway, yeah, definite thumbs up.
Yeah. What else to say about it? I mean, we liked it. That's good, right? That's good that we like a Doctor Who, a Doctor Who mostly not written by Russell T Davies. Is that a coincidence?
Definitely.
I don't know.
2 in a row.
Yeah. It could be. I mean, it's always nice to have fresh new blood and talent in
new writers equal good.
Doctor Who.
Most of the time.
I just, thinking back to, I know that's the thing. I know as well. I've been watching, you'll be amazed to know this. I've been flitting in and about old British telly, and there's this Lord Peter Wimsey mysteries from the 1970s.
First of all, I love that name. Lord Peter Wimsey.
Peter Wimsey, who's based on, I think, Dorothy L. Sayers' books, apparently. Erica knew exactly who this person was. I never heard of him. But anyway.
Involved the book, so
because he didn't play hockey.
But all the episodes, which I'm only skipping through to look for Doctor Who actors, of course, all the episodes are adapted by Anthony Stephen. Anthony Stephen, who, of course, wrote one episode of Doctor Who, and it was the Twin Dilemma. So sometimes, sometimes New Blood doesn't quite work out. But, no. But, I was thinking like Maxine Alderton during the Chibnall era, who wrote... Village Nightmare of Villa Diodati episode, and then and Village of the Angels, and those two are
those both are great,
top-notch episodes.
Or I'll one up you and say Vinay Patel.
Yeah, that's
Vinay Patel as well.
Yeah.
Having just completely out of left field, like not written for Doctor Who in any sort of form before, coming in, giving a fresh take on it, I think is always appreciated.
Well, I know him and Ellams were both massive Doctor Who fans, so they're much like Stephen Moffat or anybody else. Writes, and a lot of people write for this. This has been cooking in their heads forever, right?
Yeah, it's still in there. Yeah, exactly. So they know the show, they're aware of it, but they've got their own individual take on it, which I quite like. You're right. The performances were good. The casting was good, as you say, Chris. I'm fascinated. The guy who played Omo. He was an extra 20 years ago, worked as a supporting artist. Day one, he was a unit soldier on the very first day of shooting Modern Doctor Who.
Chasing a space pig.
Yeah, and he was the lion guy in that Capaldi story.
No, the other guy was
the barber.
The barber
right.
was
Yes,
the
you're
lion
right.
guy.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The Capaldi episode, so I think that's kind of cool. Actually, and the actor who played Abby played a neighbor in the forest, and the I looked at the casting and where was she? I thought I saw her before, and maybe I saw her in the forest through the trees or whatever the hell that Frank Cottrell Boyce was.
Also, I'd like to point out that they kept Mrs. Flood's cameo to a minimum, which I was happy with.
I was terrified. When I saw that, this episode is set in 2019 Nigeria in a barbershop. How are we going to cram an old white lady into this? And
I also liked that they just got it out of the way.
They didn't. They didn't do that, and I'm happy about that.
12-minute mark or whatever.
It was like, there she is, and she's just her. She's just her as
walking down the hall.
Like we're
in the same outfit she was wearing in Robot Revolution as well.
Yeah. So I guess that all takes place on the same day.
Possibly. Yeah.
I got to give Murray Gold credit because it is easy to just dip in and culturally appropriate African-inspired music. But I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong again, but I think he did a pretty good job of not overcooking the pudding and just throwing stuff in that seemed appropriate when it seemed appropriate.
Yeah, the one when the one guy's telling the story about the antelope and everything and the shaman, and I can't.
Yo ma.
That's that story, but the music that was there for that didn't sound. It reminded me of I can't remember the name of the band right now. It reminded me of the music of a band that's from Mali. It starts with an A. I can't remember the name of the band, but it reminded me of that. You know, it's Mali's in West Africa as well, so there's a similar kind of vibe to that sort of music and stuff. No Fela Kuti music turned up, but it is 2019 and not 1977. So you know,
why isn't this catering once again specifically to
me? You know, I mean, he was a big proponent of Nigeria. So
where was the Quiller cameo in all this?
Yeah, I don't think Quiller. I haven't watched them all yet, though, so I don't know if they went to Nigeria. They went to
sure they didn't.
They went to some far-flung locations. We do see there was literally one drone shot, which I think they paid someone in Nigeria to do. There's a credit for their Nigeria, and I can't remember the name of the company.
Or it's stock stuff.
No, it was
they shot it. They
specifically shot for it.
It's kind of like what they did with Alex in Manhattan, but to a smaller degree.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the opening thing with after they land, and you see the overhead of Lagos, that's where that's the drone shot Stephen's talking about. Versus later on when they're in the alley in front of the barbershop, there's the kind of shantytown thing in the background, and I don't know how much that was practical versus
that was
what I kind of liked about
CG or whatever. But
what I kind of liked about how it's set bound is like, and if you'll allow me to indulge myself for a second, the movie Naked Lunch, they were supposed to shoot it in Morocco. Right. And that's where it's kind of set. And then they ended up not being able to do it for whatever reason, budget or something. So they ended up, they shot it all on the sets in Toronto. But the fact that it's set bound actually adds to it because it's such a surreal experience, right? So for this, I thought it was kind of the same thing. It's like you got this weird mythical stuff happening, and this isn't quite like, you can tell this is definitely on a set, but that kind of adds to it in a way, you know what I mean? Because you're like, you get the air of unreality, which kind of ties in with the other air of unreality you're getting. So
yeah, I know there's a slight sapphire and steel feel to it in a way, you know.
Or like I said, Naked Lunch, kind of the same thing. It's like he's in Interzone, which is like not a real place, and that kind of works to its advantage in the film itself. Yeah, and this is kind of in not quite the same way, but it's kind of, that was the feeling I was getting.
I kind of agree because you know, as much as you try shooting something inside that's supposed to be outside. Never quite. But the fact that the market is like, you know, it's all like sort of covered and everything like that. You never really see direct sunlight in there anyway. So it kind of works. I did like the feel of the market though. You know, I mean, I've never been to Nigeria, obviously, but I have been to like Egypt or like
same here,
Havana. I mean, the markets in other parts outside of North America, they just have a great little, really cramped,
feel vital.
But vital.
It's not a sterile strip mall like we're used to.
Exactly, and it's sort of like I got that. I didn't. Obviously, it's a different market, but I just got that same feeling as being in the souk in Cairo and
Thailand's like that too. Like they have big night markets.
Yeah. You know, it felt real, and they had like a whole bunch of people like, you know. Even that was like, very carefully researched and curated, and like how the market would be. And like, there's Erica and I were looking. What does POS mean? Point of service, like, because everyone's looking for you can pay with tap here.
And the fact that they had older TVs and older tech, because stuff kind of just gets reused and reused. Yeah. And it's like, and that was kind of cool too. And I don't know how authentic it is because I've never been there either, but it felt authentic, which is
was it RTD? I think who said on Unleashed how Lagos has like or no, it was the Doctor in the episode has the biggest like tech whatever in Africa.
It's a big tech hub or something like that.
Yeah. But then you see all the tech, and it's like 1990s CRTs and flip phones.
Well, that's at the street level though, right? So
yeah. I thought they really sold the fact that it was in Nigeria as well as they possibly could.
Exactly.
In a studio in Cardiff.
And on top of everything else, as we saw in the Unleashed, they built the set, used it for one day of shooting, and then pulled it down to erect the set for the
but the amount of detail,
the front of the barbershop.
Nuts.
Yeah.
So it's the amount of the detail, the effort, all the fruits and plates and all
just sitting there planning that out and
paraphernalia
having to figure out every
offer.
booth. Like I can't. That's overwhelming to me.
It was mind blowing.
I know.
What must that have cost to put together, only to tear down? Because when I can't remember her last name, the director Michaela was talking about
McPherson.
Visiting the set beforehand just to kind of get a lay of the land.
Yeah.
For something, I mean, fair enough. I mean, as the director, you kind of need to know that kind of stuff. But to get the lay of the land for the set that gets taken down at the end of the one day of shooting.
I mean, also what they're going to do is they're going to have the hero booths, right? Which is like the camera goes along this path. You're going to see everything in detail. And then there's going to be stuff in the background that is nowhere near as detailed, but you can't really tell because it's out of focus, right? So that's one way you do this, but that's still a pile of planning anyway. But
what I liked about this episode too is that it is relatively small stakes and takes place within a barbershop and like a small location. And historically, this is what Doctor Who does best.
It's a base under siege, kind of,
but like it's
From Within, which is what the Well did.
Yeah, like
kind of repetitive there.
I made this connection. I didn't watch the show, but I appreciated it for what it did. Agatha All Along. Where it's just this small group of characters experiencing things in sort of like different locations, but like it's not some expansive world invasion. There's no helicopters flying in. I think many times in modern Who, they think we've got the budget to go big, let's go big. And oftentimes it's just like, it doesn't feel natural,
Yeah. Well, that'll be the last two episodes. So
I'm bracing myself for it. Doctor Who just feels most natural when it's small stakes like this. Star Trek does
like Ghostlight.
Like Ghostlight. Yeah, you know what? For all its faults, yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Ghostlight.
You're right. Yeah.
It just feels.
Kazaranda Ozani, one of the best ones ever, is really just a tightly knit thing.
It is. Star Wars does big, expansive
far bigger cast of characters than we saw in this.
Yeah.
It's Star Wars does big, expansive stuff like that. It does it well. That's what it does. Star Trek. Honestly,
it's
does
better when it doesn't.
It does better when it doesn't, but it tries and it fails. And honestly, like we don't need to always go big. We can we can make it small scale and still be really compelling television. And kudos to Inu Elams who this is the story I want to tell. I don't want to do a big alien invasion or something like that. This is the story I want to tell. I want to tell a story of Africa, of barbershops, of Anansi, of culture and everything else, and keep it to that scale and have it be the story that's big because they're telling a story. This is the whole thing, the story in the engine.
It's mostly a psychological thriller in effect, right?
It is, and I appreciate it for that, and that's why I liked it the whole time. I was thinking this is delightfully small scale, but I care more for these people than I did all the trolls in Lucky Day, or the unit stuff. It just felt like this is what are we doing here?
I think you're supposed to care about these characters more than you would the trolls in Lucky Day.
Well, yes,
but I felt them to be more believable people than the caricatures that were in previous episodes.
Here's my dumb reaction to that. They're supposed to be inspired by the original think tank, and I'm like, how dare you? And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm defending idiot Nazis from the 70s, so maybe not, but still, those are better idiot Nazis than these idiot Nazis or trolls or whatever they are.
Yeah. I do have some negative gripes about it though, but
right, I
want to make. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to say about? I
was not spoiled for. Well, let me just get them both out here. I was not spoiled by for the Joe Martin cameo, so I was very happy to see her. Just kind of, and the way they introduced is that they pan over behind his head, and then all of a sudden she's there, and then she's not. I was like, that was really cool. As far as I was concerned,
they pan behind Abby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, and this is key. He was wearing the very important shoes that I bought in London.
He's wearing the $350 shoes. I will tell you that there was some chatter going around in the green room and stuff at Chicago TARDIS back in November, where Joe Martin was a guest and will be again. She was announced as a guest again for a Chicago TARDIS upcoming. That she might have a cameo. So I didn't tell anyone not anyone that this was happening. But
I hope she shows up again. I would be. I don't know how you work it in, but I would like to see. I would like to see more Joe Martin integration.
Although, I have to say though,
I think that's the big thing is seeing more of Joe Martin.
Yeah,
and not just in the sense of her showing up, but actually more than 8 seconds worth of screen time.
I mean, it worked here, but I would like at some point, I don't know how or when, for her to get a team up or something. Maybe. Yeah.
Although as Neil did point out, does the Doctor remember their time as the fugitive Doctor now, or is that?
Well, he said he was adopted, and I think it was in the Goblin one. When he first meets Ruby's mom, and he says, "I'm adopted." Where would he get that?
Well,
from?
he knows that he's adopted, but does he remember current Doctor? Remember his time?
Yeah, okay. I guess
pre-Hartnell. This is what is kind of unclear, but hey, vibes. If the vibes are good, he's just A1.
Can I put this out there?
Go ahead.
He doesn't need to remember.
Yeah,
he isn't remembering. Maybe. Abby is remembering.
Somebody else said that in the chat too. Yeah. That it's not him remembering. It's
he remembers.
That character's POV.
There's a memory in the back of his brain about meeting Abby, but he doesn't remember necessarily when it was.
And of course she does, because she goes past him. Clicks her teeth or whatever it is. But but when Joe Martin when the fugitive Doctor comes, it's Abby's point of view. So it's I took it as Abby remembering that.
Yeah.
And went so far as just to check to see if because being a same-sex relationship back in however many centuries or millennia ago that might have been. Sorry, I'm just gonna find it in my notes here. Bear with me a quick second. Where are you? Anyway, I can't find it specifically, but I'll just put it out there that apparently the culture at the other the LGBTQ kind of thing was kind of it was a thing. It wasn't necessarily frowned upon, stuff like that. So
what do gods need with the gender? I mean,
fair or Starship. But sorry, Warren.
Sorry.
But the point being, I don't know if it was just something that was thrown in there, or if it's something that was actually researched or whatever. But it fits in with what history could or probably was.
So the one thing I was thinking of, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, was that at the beginning when he's talking about going to the barbershop and why he goes there, and he says, "This is the first time I've been in a black body." So he doesn't remember her.
Yeah.
Based on that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, well, explain what I'm wrong about here. Because I probably am, but go for it.
This is, to directly quote, "This is the first time I've had this black body."
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Okay, well, there's room for interpretation.
Rather than a
black
body.
Yeah, you got me there,
Yeah.
So
there you go.
So maybe he does remember, maybe he doesn't. Who knows?
No, I don't think so.
And actually, it's great if we don't know. Sometimes you don't need to have every question answered, honestly.
Right.
No, especially with something that in a series that always has the finale try to do a whole bunch of
wrap-ups that it doesn't need to.
A whole bunch of stuff. More on that later.
I love that we're bracing ourselves so much for that 2-part finale because we know exactly what's coming, and we just have to
And let's not forget what's coming next week too. But Chris, you will be the hero of that episode because God Almighty, I'm not going to be.
I don't know how much I'm looking forward to.
Well, more than I am. So
yeah. Since we're talking negatively about things, can I talk about the editing?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
It didn't bother me. Just preemptively. I didn't have a problem with
it.
Anyway,
bring up. Yeah, I'm curious about this editing. Perspective.
Well, first off, I mean, I want to point out that it's increasingly clunky the way they keep having to hammer in that the Doctor is trying to get Belinda home.
Really?
And despite
the fact that I really don't want to interrupt you, but I have to.
Well, yeah.
Despite this being the third episode in a row with the Vindicator, where it has about 15 seconds of screen time, and they're done with it.
Yeah, it's the way that the episodes of the opening credits happen, and then it just starts off with Belinda going, "Doctor, you have to get me home." I just oh God, it's so. We knew this, all right. We know this, but we have to keep. The people are watching for the first time, so we got to keep telling them what this is. It was a completely unnatural way it's always framed every single week as Belinda chastising the doctor for not getting her home. And maybe they could change it up.
Something has such a limited shelf life as well.
Right. I know. And it's like,
this feels like the grafted on RTD bit.
It's so grafted on, and just it's the same tone every single week, which is what's bothered me. I wish that perhaps it could have started, if we need to hammer it home, you're like, okay, if the doctor says, okay, we got to get you home, let's try this, having that. But it just started off so, it was just a hammer over the head. And I just like, oh, come on, let's, Anyway, that's not the thing that was annoying me the most. This is what annoyed me the first time I watched it, was the editing of the whole thing. In that I don't think it's the director. I think, based on what, Rachel Talalay was saying, her different experiences working on the Star Beast compared to the Moffat years, is that RTD and Phil Collinson have a lot greater control over the final edit than the director does in this era than in Moffat's era.
Despite in Unleashed or the behind the scenes, whatever, having the interview with Michaela McPherson.
She's in the edit suite.
Being in front of an editing thing.
And what did us dorks do? Go, which is that? Is that the Avid? Is that Premiere? What is it? That was my main concern. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to zoom in over there and see what she's running, or the editor's running.
And there were 3 or 4 scenes in this where the barber's dialogue is all ADR'd over other people's reaction shots. They've deleted something and made something a mess there. I think there's way too many quick cuts. I think that when the doctor comes into the barbershop, he's immediately suspicious. Wait a second, you guys, you are all on the wanted on the missing poster. Like within 5 seconds,
he's all smiles when he enters, but within a few seconds he makes that.
It's way too quick. Yeah. It's way too quick. I think he should have.
He just looked at the posters. They're very fresh in his mind.
And the doctor's good at reading the room too. Like any doctor is.
I think that he should have walked in and sensed that something is off, and then build the suspense a little bit. RTD2 does not do suspense. It doesn't. He's not interested in it. He wants to get to the beats of it, and I think building up they're all just sort of sitting there, and
I would disagree for the well.
And he sort of gets the well, maybe sure, okay, one episode, but this is the one episode where what is wrong? This is my comfort place. It looks like we never established that this is his happy place. He's instantly suspicious about it, and so. He should have walked in and sort of seen wait a second, you're that, I know, and maybe take a few seconds to go, wait a second, you're all on the missing posters. And then when Belinda comes in, within seconds she goes, you're on the missing posters. It's everyone, it just happens way too quickly.
Again, the posters are right near the...
But still, that's the first connection you make. Wait a second, you're on the missing posters. It's just you should have a few seconds to trigger that this is what's happening.
If anything for that criticism, I would say it is much stranger for Belinda to have that reaction than for the doctor.
Yeah, that's
the doctor is going to be, just as a character in general, vastly more observant and knowledgeable, and things like that Belinda wouldn't necessarily be, or at least not as good.
Right.
But I can believe the doctor's reaction like that far more than I can Belinda's.
One thing I would like to I know this is not the editing, what they've been known to do, and I think Moffat did this too, is they give the beats, but then they do a cut back to the thing you just saw, like the missing poster in black and white or something. Yeah. And I'm really glad they didn't go that route. I'd rather have them say it than go right in your face, idiots. Here's the wanted poster, in case you were wondering.
Yeah.
Imagine if they did something like having the characters come out of the missing posters.
That would have been weird. But also it's in the scene where Abby goes, I remember, and she's standing at the far side of the room with the doctor. This is before the Joe Martin cameo. And then they do a quick cut back to the doctor and then cut again. And we're supposed to take it as read that Abby has walked up and is now right close. That's fine. But she's instantly in storytelling mode. We've skipped over a whole few words in between, I just feel and especially in an episode where it's the one guy jokes about, about music being live, essentially. Can you do that song again? The antelope has moved, the sun has set, it's a different song now. This is why we say, if we're going to be there at 1, we're there at 3. That's the type of, kind of languid pace that would have matched the story that was being told, but instead it's edited in the same style. So, even though we have, a black director, a black writer, Nigerian and West African culture represented here, it's still just funneled into that RTD2 house style. And that's the one detriment to the episode that I didn't like. I think it should have breathed a little bit like the stories that are being told breathed, and was crammed into the format a little too much. And that bugged me. It's bugged me a lot on the first time, bugged me less with the couple of instances that I pointed out the second time. I wish once again, every episode in this season could have been 5 minutes longer. You could have found bits in there. I found the ending was a little bit weirdly shot too. Both characters are like, when they run out, and it feels like the barber runs out and like is off screen basically, and then like Shooty Gatwa like leaves for a bit of it and then he's suddenly back. Like, I don't know, there was some weird editing going on in there too. There were 2 or 3 scenes where I thought something happened in the edit here, and it's been made to be a little bit more disjointed than it should be.
Now that you mentioned the pacing, and not to compare 2 different, let's dive into different culture stories, but Demons of the Punjab, the pacing there is kind of perfect. Like, it just draws it out.
Yeah, it does,
and it makes it that much more effective when the guy gets killed.
It does. I thought, it had that kind of feel to it. So once again,
these are 2 different stories, to be fair, but
they are. But it's editing once again is bothering me in this whole season, and there's whole chunks, especially the barber. Some of his dialogue was all ADR'd with reaction shots and a couple scenes. Well, like he's running in when they see the story tree when it splits up, and he's saying like all his dialogue there is basically ADR'd over action. You never see his mouth move. You never see his face to the camera. You know that they've done something there. I could see the seams now when they do this, and so it's
that could be something as simple as the brain tree heart thing made noise when it wasn't supposed to, or something, and they had to cover.
No, when they're doing that,
cover that up by
there's a plot.
ADR.
There's something that they have chopped out plot wise. I mean, even in the behind the scenes of the Unleashed, the scene in the market featuring Inua Ellams as a shopkeeper and a cameo. That scene goes on for longer, and even so Belinda sort of knocks something over, and the policewoman who's making the noise here, and that's the last we see of it.
Part of shooting, though, is also getting as much as you can, so you got stuff to work with. So that doesn't necessarily mean it was like they're just like, well, take what we think works, right?
True.
And yeah, that's also part of the editing and putting stuff together. I just want to completely divorce from the editing. I just want to praise A, the set, and B, the shot of where they're in that sort of shipping container maze thing. I was like, the way they did it from above, and then it was just a really cool looking
I already brought that
set.
Up.
Yeah.
I'm also bringing it up.
I already brought that up, but it is worth repeating.
It is really cool.
It looked fantastic.
We don't normally see stuff like that in Doctor Who. It's just a different looking thing. Well, all of this whole set was something we don't normally see in Doctor Who, but it just was visually striking as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I've got notes. I'm going to put those on the back burner because I want to just bring up a couple just general points to talk about. So the relationship between the barber and Abby. What are our thoughts on there? The betrayal, the lie, even the barber trying to lie about who he is to the doctor, where the doctor is like, well, I drank with that night. We drank Athens dry, or
which was great,
cause the drought, whatever. Stuff like that. Like, did we buy that? Did we like it? What's the deal there?
I didn't like that both he and Belinda start bursting out laughing. Because why would Belinda laugh? Unless she's just laughing along with the doctor. I feel like, I don't know. It felt a little.
I don't think they were staggered. The timing wasn't staggered enough for her to just be following suit.
The third guy was, when they asked, "Why are you laughing?" I don't know. They're laughing. I feel like why would Belinda know that the doctor's lying about this? And honestly, when you think about it, there's not a lot for Belinda to do in this episode at all.
No, very little.
No,
it's a very Belinda light episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than, have the reactions in the TARDIS. The only thing I really took down in my notes was the A theme of the episode is community, belonging, stuff like that. So as the doctor is going through the market and, auntie and uncle and this will look good on you and whatever, versus Belinda going through the market, just running into everybody, knocking over the thing of, was it potatoes? And you're going to have to pay for that. And just, who caused this mess? And she sheepishly raises her hand. Like just the level of comfort and whatnot that the doctor felt going through that Belinda didn't feel.
Right.
Just I thought showed a good contrast in the characters and their experiences.
Although he's going through, I'm home and experiencing this, she's going through the alarms are going off in the TARDIS. I have to find the doctor.
Yeah, she's already agitated,
I suppose I didn't think about it, but I suppose she'd also be going through the market in a much more frazzled state than the doctor would because of all the alarms.
Right.
And especially with, the TARDIS isn't all that forthcoming with sharing information with her.
Still freaked out about not being at home. That's her whole deal, right? So
yeah, possibly. Yeah.
As we are constantly reminded about.
Well, yes.
At the beginning of every episode. You have to get me home. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like the whole Barbara and Abby thing is concerned, with the Barbara trying to convince people that he is or was a Nancy, and if a Nancy is Abby's father, then it kind of creates a different relationship between them. And why would she have never questioned that? Or maybe he just never said that to her. Maybe she, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know, but just.
Maybe she's just used to this guy weaving stories, and this just happens to be one of them.
Yeah, maybe.
Why did Belinda see Poppy from the Space Babies in the market? Out of nowhere.
Presumably that's gonna pay off later, or they just use the same actor.
No, it's Poppy.
It's not the same actor.
Oh, it's supposed to be Poppy.
The same actor. It is the same actor.
No, but is it supposed to be Poppy, or is it just
it's Poppy? Both episodes, Poppy credited to that child actor.
Is it? Okay, because I didn't look at the credits. So this is something that was brought to my attention again by Ian. I looked at IMDb and there was no credit for the story on the engine for her.
Screen credits, both end of credits. Yeah, I had both.
But I guess they probably they hadn't had a chance to update IMDb with that.
Probably not. Don't trust IMDb all the time. No, it's not infallible.
It's not quite Screen Rant, but it's pretty bad.
We're all in the Space Babies universe. We're all basically in a big.
That's the pantheon.
Fart cloud of energy.
Honestly, I take it.
As Neil says in the live stream chat, Space Babies is also about stories bringing things to life. So
whoa.
Dun dun dun.
So,
Space Babies.
Clearly, Poppy is the big bad for this season.
Clearly.
So, I'll take it over any of the other big bads.
Which god of the pantheon is Poppy? That's what we're going to find out.
Honestly, compared to whatever else they got in store for us, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Poppy is the doctor, not even joking, says Neil.
Well, we'll find out in 3 weeks. Yeah. You got those notes handy, Chris? What do you think? You want to get to those?
Poppy is Arani and the
points, or even the ones that we've already covered off, probably.
I love the set design for the barbershop interior in general, although when you see it, it does look like there's a lot of wasted space that an actual barbershop wouldn't have. Anyway, but especially the wall panel showing the stories as they were told, I thought that was a really nice touch, especially being something that everybody could look at and see and follow along and all that kind of stuff.
The opening titles also being
yeah, that was cool too.
The opening titles spawning from that. Also the surprise from whoever it was that said, "Oh, it's like an actual emotion or whatever." So like the doctor's story being a video rather than an animated series of drawings
with cuts and everything. Yeah, I always love that when we watch. Oh, let's look back at that flashbook and there's like cuts and music to it. It's like, oh wow, you made a little movie about it. Isn't that something? Wow, Who's the switcher in the Matrix during the trial of a Time Lord? Who's like, switching back and forth.
Well, he was too busy doing those awesome video effects.
Star wipe. Star wipe.
Somebody do it. Somebody in the control room with the Gallifrey one. Okay, all right, take one. There we go. Yeah.
The sets and the staging in general, some aspects were probably CG or other trickery, but everything looked good.
I thought so. Yeah.
And again, I don't know how the shantytown beyond the barbershop was composite, like if it's static image or painting or whatever. This is
probably digital, Matt.
The first time we've had this black body. We already talked about that. So the missing posters. The missing poster for Tunde says he's been missing since May 15th, 2014. And the story is set in 2019. So I said in the live stream chat it was 4 years that they'd been there. It's 5. So my mistake there. But yeah, they'd been in the barbershop for roughly 5 years at that point.
Right.
It's also almost May 15th as the episode goes out. So I guess that has no correlation, or they're not celebrating that anniversary.
What Doctor Who episodes were on May 14th, 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, May 15th. May 15th. That'd be, because that'd be later in the year.
It'd be autumn in 2014.
Okay.
It started in August.
I just wanted to start the story engine in Stephen's mind, which it did.
No, Deep Breath went out in August or something.
Okay.
An interesting contrast in the Doctor sailing through the market, engaging with people, look of glee on his face, versus Belinda, who just ticks people off, which directly leads into the barbershop, having become unfamiliar. Okay, so the market and whatever is unfamiliar to Belinda, and as soon as that scene ends, we have the barbershop becoming strange and unfamiliar to the Doctor. That's where he talks about Omo breaking the Doctor's hearts, betrayal, stuff like that. So it's I guess a little storytelling continuity there. I did dig the World Wide Web joke, and the Doctor calling the barber a troll on the web.
Yep.
And what else we got here? The barber's other names. I'm going to skip that because he isn't any of those at all, so that kind of becomes pointless.
There is a cool thing on Instagram where a BBC Doctor Who account has all the different masks for the different gods that he names, which is kind of cool.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Anansi's bet with the fugitive Doctor, Akin, A-K-A-N, Akin culture traditionally was cool with queerness, as I brought up earlier. Stories as fuel for the Nexus. Insert fossil fuels joke here.
Nah. How very Alberta of you.
Yes, because they're not using fossil fuels.
Your culture.
Giant spider. Yeah. We haven't talked about the spider. Let's come back to that. Actually, no, screw it. Let's talk about the spider now. What do we think about the spider as
I was fine with it.
As the means of conveyance?
I mean, Anansi is sort of like the spider. That's the manifestation in West African folklore. So I think it's perfectly.
I like the cool mask on its face. I thought that was neat. And the little wrappings around its legs.
It being a spider, definitely ties in with the Anansi legend.
Yeah.
As much time as I was able to spend looking into that.
I read about it on Wikipedia. Once again, Doctor Who has compelled me to learn about things like the partition of India and Syria. And
anything else in your life? Let's be honest here.
And Wikipedia also tells me that Anansi was a thing in Ivory Coast and Ghana, not Nigeria. But
because
as we talked about before recording, I mean, West African stuff in general is very much a milieu of folklore and stories.
It's a region, and the country boundaries that we have today are made about by the scramble for Africa, the
various
European colonial interests.
I think you'll find, Stephen, that all country lines are these invisible lines.
There's this beautiful line that we don't need between Canada and America.
Right. I actually felt the reason I know every nation on Earth is because I felt guilty a few years ago for not knowing hardly any African countries. And now I know them all. I could rattle off all 54 here. I will not. But then after the fact, just thinking, I've really just named 54, English, German, Belgian, French countries. Dutch, not even really placing into the fact that all these there are definitely boundaries of some sort that we completely ignored when we went in and completely pillaged Africa in the 1800s.
And just to be fair to you, Stephen, because you let Doctor Who dictate what you're doing, I have a news thing. Like I saw Pete Hegseth talking about the Crusades. I'm like, what the hell? Wait a minute. I know about as much as he does about the Crusades.
That's true.
So I bought a book about it. And then during the conclave, I was like, wait a minute. I don't know a hell of a lot about Christianity. Maybe I should learn about the history of this religion.
Catholicism specifically. But.
But I don't actually know that much about this religion that I endlessly revile. So maybe I should know what I'm talking about while I revile it.
There's really only the one line of thinking for Christianity, right?
I think so. It's just the one.
I'm
just saying I don't know the history
down the middle. Yeah.
For a guy who's into history, I don't know the history of one of the foundational things of Western society. So maybe I should.
But Warren, are you aware today is Magna Carta Day?
Every day is Magna
It actually
Carta Day
is.
in
It
our
actually
hearts.
is, isn't it? That's right.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
May
I
11th,
just love
Magna
my
Carta
favorite
Day.
thing. I actually tell my parents about this, about how me and Chris made a point of going to one of the Magna Cartas and doing this next to it, this foundational document of government. And we're like, cha.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't altruistic. It was just to prove Stephen wrong.
Well, yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's fine. I'm all for that. So yeah, in the Akan religion, traditional for people in Ghana and Ivory Coast, Anansi is the spider. Anansi the spider is a folk hero prominent in Ashanti folktales, depicted as a wise trickster responsible for creating the first inanimate humans. So the whole thing about the relationship between gods and humans, and basically the destruction of humans if the barber were to kill all the gods. Okay, so that really, really ties into Anansi as the one who, breathed life into humans, according to that one religion where there's no competition from any other religion. It seems odd to have an episode about gods but not have any pantheon gods, despite
Perfectly fine.
Despite the reference to Lux.
We're gonna get so many of those guys in the last 2 episodes. I'm sure.
You almost got I got the uneasy feeling that are they going to try to work actual African mythology into RTD's crazy pantheon of the gods? And thankfully they didn't.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was with. It was an interview that RTD did not that long, or published not that long ago, about how they purposefully avoided some specificity in Nigerian folklore and religion.
That's
because they didn't think they could do it justice.
Good. Yeah.
In this case, obviously they had the Nigerian consultant, so I mean, bridging that gap might have been easier than if it was just a bunch of white dudes.
You know what they did do justice to? The early days of the Beatles. They really did justice to that. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, Chris, the list.
Yeah. Snopes cannot verify if slaves weaved maps into hair to facilitate.
That was a really cool aspect of it, though. It was
apparently,
yeah.
Apparently, there's a lot of anecdotal stuff out there that says it was done, but Snopes says they cannot verify or disprove.
I thought it really worked for this. I thought it was interesting, and you could never do it with another doctor.
It was.
Right? So.
Not only was it a great shorthand for the storytelling, especially. I'm sorry, it looked really amusing with the doctor kind of feeling his head for where the path was on the maze. But not only is it a good shorthand for storytelling, it fits in with the story being told so very well.
Yeah,
I thought that was great. Also, Shooty looked awesome with that and the little.
I don't think he's capable of looking bad.
Kind of little rat tail things at the back of the head.
Yeah. There's no way for that dude to look bad.
I like the way they shot that too, the braiding scene, because we saw it through the mirror, so we saw both Shooty and
it's kind of an angle too. Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Thought that was
cool.
I
can't shoot it straight on Warren because the camera would be in the.
No, I know, but you could if you erase the camera. You could do it with CG.
You could do it. It's been done.
You could do it with camera trickery. You could do it with camera trick. I think,
or having him in the camera part and then a double.
Yeah.
So watch Terminator 2 scenes. They did with Linda Hamilton's twin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because that's not a mirror. That's like a window.
That's Linda Hamilton's twin.
Exactly.
Something I saw about. Oh, I can't remember. It was for some movie somewhat recently. I can't remember which one, where they show like a person in a chair in front of a mirror, I don't know, taking off a mask or something like that. And they have the mirror, but it's not an actual mirror. It was another actor. On the other side.
That's established trickery.
Literally what Warren is talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely a thing.
Complete side thing, but I saw somebody say, "Isn't it convenient that Tom Cruise always impersonates with these masks somebody who's also 5'7"?" and I replied with, "As somebody who's 5'7", I can tell you, we're all villains."
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously,
I'd believe it. Well, this didn't age well since I wrote it this morning. Presumably, the little girl will be explained in another episode since Belinda so pointedly asked the doctor about her. So we've talked about that being Poppy. From what century was Space Baby set?
I have no idea.
Way in the future, whatever difference in time that was. The theme of community and acceptance is strong. Shudi's delivery of why the barbershop is important is fantastic.
Yeah.
And the antagonists aim to disrupt that community between gods and humans. So it's that was. I mean, it was hammered home, but it was hammered home elegantly, if that's a thing. And then the last thing is Unleashed mentioned how the market set was only used for shooting for one day.
Yeah.
Those are my notes.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say about the ending, which is that you mentioned the community thing, and that's true, but it also did seem a little Homer Simpson. Well, that upped earlier than usual, because they're all like, "Well, you've kidnapped me for 5 years, but that's cool. Whatever, I'm off.
Go on, find your family." Yeah. We don't really learn about them after they go. I got my haircut for my child's naming ceremony. That child's now 5. There's other stories to tell.
Do you know that their naming ceremony happens at birth? Did you research this? Is this a fact?
No, I didn't. But
I don't know.
Maybe. Well, they're older.
This is an assumption you're drawing.
They are older at the very least. That
5 years,
older.
probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe their naming ceremony happens before they were born. I don't know. I didn't look into that.
No. Just like Marvel, where people come back after the blip.
Yes. And speaking of Marvel, any I know, Kat laughed her ass off with the whole.
I thought it was funny. Yeah.
The whole watching up to Endgame didn't like the Thor movies.
The muscles were. It you know what? Oddly enough, to just tell
Steven, you hate the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so maybe.
I'll tell you.
You're more tired of it than hate it, I think.
I'm more tired than hate of it. I know that. I'm going to tie this into something here, if you believe it or not, about Marvel and Doctor Who and ratings. Shall we go with that? I mean,
sure. Why not?
Thunderbolts is in the cinemas right now.
It's pretty good.
It's doing okay. It's doing okay. Right, for it
won the weekend 2 in a row.
Sure, so. But it didn't win the weekend like Avengers won the weekend, right?
Well, that was a build-up after over 10 years. So,
exactly.
I mean, yes.
What I'm meaning to say is that I think that even now, I think it's starting to hit Marvel where it's not as wide an appeal.
Oh yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah.
It's the fans of Marvel that are going to see these. It's not necessarily going outside of that realm of fandom.
And if you look at like Phase 5, Phase 6, whatever stuff that's been put out there, it's all these. I'm kind of hesitant to say D tier superheroes because I don't know enough about it to know where.
Well, they did use up their main dudes in the first
place. They kind of burned through the big ones, and they've only got the lesser ones left.
I was also listening to The Town, and one of the consultants.
Not my point that I'm making, but go on.
Hold on. He said they also diluted it by putting in all the Marvel shows during the pandemic. That also diluted the brand a little bit, according to this guy.
Not my point. The point I'm making. The point I'm making is that even Marvel now, and I think, even Marvel is sort of like becoming just a thing for the fans of Marvel. And let's face it, Doctor Who is one of the last things to go there. We always saw as Doctor Who as being the big thing, the big melting pot show on Saturday nights that everyone would watch. And now, finally, we don't talk about overnights because why bother? But they've been pretty much stable.
1.59 million.
Sure, they've been pretty much stable. So basically, Doctor Who now is like every other show on TV, be it Star Wars, be it your Star Treks, be it your Marvel movies in the cinemas. Everything has got its fan base, and that's who it's appealing to. Yeah. And there is very little, if anything, not even the Marvel movies are going outside of their established parameters to be mainstream, because this is how siphoned off everything is now.
Yeah, everything is dominant. You're right.
Everything has its pocket fandom, and that's who they're appealing to now.
Warren, what's the next one? Doomsday? Avengers Doomsday?
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't even know.
No, Fantastic Four is coming next month.
No. What's the next Avengers film is Doomsday, right?
I think it's Doomsday, and then it's Secret Wars. And if the Beyonder doesn't show up in his giant
white outfit, I'm out. Other than Robert Downey Jr. making far too much money off that prospect,
being in a mask the whole time.
If you look at Marvel films in general, the release windows or length, the budgets, all this stuff is. I mean, they're still very expensive films to make.
Oh yes, very much so.
But they're not getting the budgets they used to because people aren't seeing them in the theater so much. And as is pointed out in the live stream chat, I mean, there's the leftover pandemic behavior of not going to the movies.
That too.
I've been to the cinema once.
I've
since
gone
COVID.
more times than
Once.
that, but because I like going by myself,
Yeah.
just popping by.
you
And
know,
I've got two of them near me, so yeah.
Even music is kind of like siphoned off into its own pockets of,
That was long before movies.
It was long before movies. This is sadly, I mean, Doctor Who not getting 12 million viewers on BBC One at a Saturday night. This is just a sign of literally everything, all of culture and media culture and pop culture being accessible to everyone at the same time means that you can just access it whenever, and therefore nothing is the public conversation. It's just what's happening.
Even comparing now to, say, like Voyage of the Damned, like think of the astronomical numbers.
Different universe.
Think of the astronomical numbers of Voyage of the Damned God. Yeah, there was a lot less. There's a lot less for people to watch. Streaming services, like there was no Paramount Plus, there was no Disney Plus, there was no
Netflix.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Netflix was barely a thing, and but even then they might have still only been doing DVDs. I can't remember what the timeline is, but nowadays with just so much more stuff out there, the rise in 2007, YouTube was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I hadn't thought of that.
There's nothing on YouTube relative to what there is now for,
and now it's a rival to Hollywood, frankly.
Yeah.
Streaming services, whether it's something big like Disney Plus or something small like Dropout, like there's like just
Shudder.
or Crunchyroll or you name it.
Crunchyroll makes a pile of money because a lot of young people like anime. So,
but the point being, there's just so much more stuff out there to consume. You have to be that much more selective in what you consume. Therefore, those eyeballs don't go elsewhere.
And, to be fair, this is also us having rose-colored glasses at the past. And I'll give you an example. I just saw this morning that Battlestar Galactica, the OG from 1978 is on. And you know what? It wasn't all that great, but it was a sci-fi show on when I was a little kid. So of course I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to go back and watch that. So
as we've talked about, Warren, watching it on CBC
in French, because that's all we had.
Because that's what was showing it at the time.
But the point being, that scarcity is something we hated at the time, and now we look back fondly at. But that's because we're in our 50s. Like somebody who's 20 might have a completely different view.
I'm not sure how much I look back fondly on it at the, now versus then.
Well, I do more than I did then.
But I mean,
nothing needs to be hunted anymore.
Yeah,
Well,
on the other hand, you can actually,
that's also part of the problem is there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be hunted. So I don't know, Steven, you want to watch The Color Purple? What streaming service? What streaming service? Is that
Good
on?
question.
Just go to Just Watch and you can find out.
Who the hell knows?
But you know what? Whatever. I'll just Netflix just suggested this one to me, so I'm gonna just watch that instead.
Here's my small counter.
There's 80 other things. I didn't find that one thing. I'll watch these other things then.
In the 90s, if you were a cinema nerd, as I was, you had to, and I did, commit all this stuff to memory amongst other cinema nerds who also did. And all that happened is you argued like idiots about it. Right. And now that doesn't happen because you just look it up and you're good to go. And also you can talk to somebody of a different generation and they know what you're talking about, right? Because they've also watched some of this stuff, right?
Like the internet has also really
this is not a panacea
has really hurt like drunken pub arguments as well.
No, it hasn't. I'm fine with not having drunken pub arguments. And it also has turbocharged idiots yelling and also seeing 5-minute reels that go, did you know in Adventure's Endgame, Thanos is in it? Yeah, I did. I'm aware of that. Thank you. Very helpful.
Spoilers.
So there's good and bad to all this, but I am not missing the endless stupid arguments that you couldn't prove or disprove one way or the other at a drunken pub in the 90s. Right. Like I'm glad that era is over, and I'm also glad I can talk to somebody who's 20 and they know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention.
Well, just
Goodfellas, for instance.
Bear in mind, drunken pub arguments is the reason the Guinness Book of World Records exists.
Well, all right, I guess so. But I'm just saying, it's not as cut and dried as we're making it out to be. Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I forget where we started this.
I was mostly just sort of everything is fragmented right now. So people complaining about people being old British fans and tabloid newspapers complaining about ratings. It's just like it's everything now.
The same thing happened yesterday as happened last weekend where. So Doctor Who was the fourth, 1.59 million, fourth I think it was on BBC One.
Sure.
On a night like Saturday last weekend, on a night that nothing on the BBC broke 2 million.
Nothing.
And Saturday was whatever this, massive important TV night, like so Britain's Got Talent was the best or something.
I would imagine Eurovision's ratings are insane, right?
Are they insane? I don't even know what the ratings are for Eurovision.
Eurovision's a very different beast because unlike Doctor Who now, it is still appointment viewing.
Yeah,
well, it has to as be, well as like in the UK. Lots of people in Britain just either watch Eurovision, don't watch Eurovision,
right?
Whatever. But Eurovision as a whole, aggregately between YouTube and all the national broadcasters across Europe, and who's doing it in the US? Logo did it, and I think Peacock took it over.
Sure,
something like that.
I'll take your word for it.
Anyway, just the collectively the numbers are 180, 200 million or something like that.
And it's on YouTube too, right?
Yep.
I think. So then that must be another giant pile of numbers.
For years.
Yeah, probably. It's probably where a lot of people probably watch it, let's face it. Yeah.
Anybody else, most
outside of the UK.
Most people outside of Europe probably see on YouTube or VPNs on, SVT or whatever. But
SVT, which I watched when I was in Sweden. So
excellent. Anyway, their aggregate numbers are massive. Like the Super Bowl is a blip compared to Eurovision. But
America's center of the world.
Super Bowl is a blip compared to the Olympics or compared to other.
No, I never thought I'd cheer for Eurovision. But when it comes to blip in the Super Bowl, I mean the Marvel blip where they just goes away.
Yeah.
But yes, as a collective number, Eurovision is freaking massive in any individual country.
Depending on the country. I know in Sweden it's hugely popular. So.
Oh yeah. Well, so Sweden's won at the most times, tied with Ireland, and they might take that lead this year.
My God, how fascinating! Eurovision,
from a Finnish group representing Sweden.
I'm trying hard to stay conscious here.
I am.
You're gonna hate next week.
I am gonna hate next week.
Oh my God! The one thing I'm looking forward to.
I'm gonna be doing this thing solo, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. This will be me the whole time. I'll be doing this thumbnail.
The one thing, great for a podcast. The one thing I'm looking forward to keeping track of is how the FA Cup final does. To see if Doctor Who is even broadcast on BBC One on Saturday.
What's the slated for? 7:10?
I have no idea.
I think it's 7:10, so it wraps up just because it's the last thing.
7:10 till 8, right before Eurovision.
Yeah.
So if that association football match goes long for whatever reason, there's no Doctor Who, which is hilarious when you think about it. Yep. Especially given, and I'm jumping around a little bit, especially given that 2 weeks after that, it's not even dropping on iPlayer or Disney Plus. At the time it's all going out at the same time on BBC One, theaters, BBC One, Disney Plus, iPlayer.
For the finale,
Reality War Episode 8 is all dropping at 7 p.m. UK time, so noon here. That's the one time, the last time I'm going to stay up for to watch it. So, yeah. So that's interesting how they decide 1 week you can only watch it at the time of broadcast. 2 weeks prior to that, will it broadcast even? Who knows?
Are you going to keep watching it till 1 until this one in the morning just because you've done it already? Yeah.
I will. I'm sure Stephen will. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
As Neil points out in the live stream chat, Shooty will be on BBC One that night regardless because he's doing the jury results for the UK.
It'd be kind of cool if he could throw to himself. And here's me on Doctor Who.
Because there's about a 3-hour gap in between.
I do it anyway. What the hell?
But
he's the returning officer for Eurovision, for whatever that means.
Yes.
Anyway, what else did we talk about? Unleashed behind the scenes. There's a short story which the BBC insists on calling prequels. On the BBC website.
They still haven't learned. It's been over 10 years since they started missing.
Did Edward Russell start that curse, brand manager of Doctor Who? Did he do that? I don't even know.
I don't know.
It's not a prequel. It's a story that takes place beforehand. That
comes out before. Told in the episode.
I know.
We complain about this specifically and about RTD's era in various ways, but I gotta say the marketing a hell of a lot better mostly.
Hey, here we go. From the live stream chat. One challenge I'd like to see. Chris picks a Eurovision song from Warren's Galley video.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Do not sully my Galley video with your filthy Eurovision. I take suggestions from friends. Hey, not Eurovision's no friend of mine.
There's a song this year.
You're a friend, but not Eurovision.
There's a song this year, Ireland's song, talking about what if Laika didn't die. and was partying in space.
What the hell does that even mean? Oh, the dog. Okay, all right.
Oh,
I had to get past my wall of contempt for Eurovision. So
yeah.
I'm enjoying what little Eurovision chat is happening in the live stream.
Wow.
I'm not.
Thanks to all those participating.
Can't wait till next week.
All of you.
Can't wait till next week.
We can go into the depths of Netta.
The Who Noob YouTube channel, Who with like 4 O's oob on, has put together a compilation of all the past Doctor clips that were seen in the story and the engine. This YouTube channel was pointed out to me last week when there's a video, the more recent video, the one just before this, was they determined which was the longest scene or sequence in Doctor Who history that featured no dialogue, and they counted down from 10 to 1. That's on there too. I don't know if I want to spoil it for you, but it's great. 5.5 minutes. Death of the Daleks. Death of the Daleks part 1 or part 2. There's a 5.5 minute sequence where there's no dialogue in that whole thing.
Does it end with "Stop, don't move"? Is that the line?
No,
just Carrie Blayton's lovely score.
Just Blyton's lovely score and rocks falling and everything else, and Terry Nation going, there you go, nobody talks. There you go.
I don't want to write this crap. Here you go. I just wrote this summary of what happened.
Exactly. Also, Millie Gibson was on the One Show, talked about the finale. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Conrad returns because we were all hoping that he would.
Boo. He's the head of the Pantheon.
Conrad's back. Millie.
He's back as a giant robot.
And Millie, Millie Gibson too.
Ruby's back.
Ruby's back too. So,
that's fine.
So that's out there. That's official. It is. BBC spoiler
We
alert.
Also from the trailer before the season, we know Mello's back in unit.
Good.
In the somewhere within the confines of the finale. But yeah, she was on there with Natalie Portman of all people.
I know. I love that.
That was an interesting juxtaposition.
I love it. It's like whenever we, let's face it, the three of us only ever watch Graham Norton show whenever there's a Doctor Who element to it. It's always fun to have here's Ncuti Gatwa.
You speak for yourself.
And somebody else are British and an American person. I just think, oh God, does Denzel Washington even know who any of these people on this panel
are? The thing is, Ryan Gosling, huge Doctor Who fan. We don't know. Denzel Washington could be a huge Doctor Who fan for all we know.
Oh no, you could tell the looks on their face going,
okay.
Who is this person and why am I laughing?
I'm assuming both of you don't know who Tom Davis or Ramesh Ranganathan are.
Not a clue.
No, I have no clue what you're talking about.
So the other people that were there on the One Show. Anyway,
who were they?
I was going to say, I found it amusing that Ramesh talked about how, because every time Doctor is on a thing, they always ask the people, if you had a TARDIS, where or when would you go?
God.
So Ramesh talks about being a big hip hop fan, and he would pick the 90s in New York.
He's right.
For the hip hop scene, which, great answer.
Right, yeah.
And then all I could think of was, well, Natalie Portman was in the 90s. It was New York in the 90s, so she could probably speak to that to a point. I mean, obviously, she was much, much younger.
It's like 12. Yeah.
She's on the professional set.
Yeah. Well, she was 12 when they shot Leon, and that was 93-4 when it was shot. So
something like that,
yeah.
And also, you're just mad, Stephen, because nobody answers. I would go back in time and save the missing episodes.
No, I'm just. It has become the laziest BBC talk show question to work in Doctor Who and time travel. If you
it's the do you like stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Chris Hardwickization of BBC.
Yeah. But it's also something where sometimes you might get an interesting answer. At the very least, you're going to get different answers.
True.
And then I haven't watched it yet, but RTD was on Morning Live.
Yeah.
Friday, 2 days ago, as we recorded this.
I learned something.
I haven't watched it. You did though, right, Stephen?
I learned something. What is the play school play something? The one time that Russell T Davies was a TV presenter where he was drawing things and stuff was in 1987.
Yep.
And
that footage was all over Confidential back in the day as well.
Back in the day, but literally only that clip from this show in 1987 is the only thing that exists from that episode. That is a missing episode.
Save those missing episodes.
BBC programming in 1987.
Well into the 80s.
Yeah. So think about that.
You won't.
Think about it.
Yeah. So people in the chat are talking about where they would go, what they would do, whatever if they would turn us.
And there's a Jodie era war happening that I'm not getting in the middle of.
Little bit of one, but as somebody who's revisiting the Whittaker tenure since it ended, for the first time since it ended, there's a lot. Season 11, series 11, impressed me a lot more this time around. And 12 has disappointed me a lot more this time.
Wow, interesting. Wow.
Because I was actually at a friend's place at a birthday party, and somebody stopped watching. She loved Doctor Who, but she stopped watching right before Capaldi's last season. I'm like, there are some bangers you are missing. She hadn't seen Heaven Sent. I'm like, you are missing one of the greatest episodes of television.
Yeah. Oh, the Capaldi era. That was good stuff, wasn't it?
Well, so was, and I did like that Jodie showed up in the sort of montage of Doctors,
Twice.
which happened less because it's the more or less most recent one, right? So
I think RTD has done his damnedest to respect and memorialize all the Chibnall stuff.
Other showrunners, yeah. Which I like. Yeah.
I mean, he's said all along he's not going to reverse that shift in the mythology.
Yeah.
This is the biggest example of him kind of supporting and propping it up since he took over again.
Because if I took over Doctor Who, the Pantheon's gone. Like I'm just saying.
I know. Oh, the blank slate. Hopefully,
Eurovision episode. Oh, I'm going to make that into a missing episode.
Let's hope they put all those gods back into the box in the reality.
They're going to
war.
anyway. I'm assuming. Like that's how this ends.
Take them down. Yeah. We'll find out in 3 weeks' time. What do we got? Just a couple things. John Pertwee. There's the audio collection coming out July 4th, which includes, 2 novelizations as read by the late, great John Pertwee. So,
neat.
Yeah, and weirdly, Curse of Peladon and Planet of the Daleks. So when I first saw this, there was no cover art yet or content listing or anything like that. So I assumed it'd be like, Paradise of Death, Ghost of Endspace sort of thing. But no, it's Curse of Peladon. Like, why have Curse and not Monster? Why have Planet of the Daleks and not Frontier in Space? Like, it's just
maybe that's the ones that he read. Remember these?
Yeah, maybe
the ones
that
he read.
And maybe those are the only 2 that he read. I don't know off the top of my head.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
So.
And also archive interviews and radio appearances. So yeah, whole bunch of that. So that's coming out July 4th. In the UK at the very least. Who knows if you can get that in North America, but celebrate the eve of the anniversary of John Pertwee's birth in 1919.
Madness.
With that. A couple big Finnish things, Warren. This is of interest to you. The Paul Sprague Memorial New Writer Competition. Tell us about that, if you will.
Every year they do this in memorial to Paul Sprague, who worked for Big Finish, and it's people put together, I think it's a 500-word summary and then 500-word kind of excerpt from what you would write. And this time it's all Jodie Whittaker's era, so you've got to restrict it to that. There's rules like, and this is for all of them, they've done this, you can't have the Daleks, you can't have recurring, you got to come up with your own thing, basically, except for, the
originality. Come on.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So, because it's Big Finish's job to shoehorn everything else in. It's not yours. Yeah. So yeah, but it's, and emerging writers have come out of this. So everybody get on. I'm think about doing it and then forget the deadline. Right. This is what I usually do.
Well, you've got until June 12th, Warren. You've got until June 12th to submit. So,
and the thing is, and I'm not speaking on behalf of Big Finish or anything, but just because you don't get picked doesn't mean they didn't look at it. So, I mean, go at it. And if nothing else, it's practice. So go from there.
You got to look at it before you put in the shredder either way.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. There you are.
Something on the page, even if it's crap, is better than the blank page.
Exactly. And the last bit, the Eric Roberts, as the Oscar-nominated Eric Roberts returns as he is
for the TV movie.
No, for Midnight Express. No,
neither of those things.
The movie he was in with John Voight, and I never seen it, but you know the one I mean. Runaway Train.
Runaway Train. Yeah, I kept thinking it was Star 80, which he's also, and he's quite good in too. So
Hollywood Tariff King, John Voight.
Yes.
Hollywood Tariff King,
one of the ambassadors to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Good God, what a stupid sentence.
Anyway, he is returning as the Master of Dark Gallifrey with 3 parts starting in July from Big Finish. So there you go. No cover art yet to try and determine the details therein. That's it. That's it for this week, everyone. We have been bracing ourselves, looking forward to it.
Or rejoicing, in Chris's case.
I'm not. I've never said I'm rejoicing.
Comparatively speaking.
Yeah. Comparatively, I don't know. I might be more on your side than you realize. Just
that'll be a miserable episode.
We'll find
out.
out.
We'll love it. I doubt it.
As a Eurovision fan, etc. I'm wondering how.
They could get it wrong, and you could be very angry about that. Whereas we won't have a clue if they're getting it wrong.
Fair enough. We got Rylan Clark, who's been involved with the BBC stuff for a few years now, and Graham Norton, who's been doing it for 15 plus years. But and RTD, it's Eurovision is colloquially referred to as the Gay Olympics.
I thought that was the Oscars, but that's my Gay Olympics as I appropriate their Olympics.
I think it's a gay Super Bowl, maybe. I don't know.
There's a lot of people involved who should be able to do it justice. I just worry that won't happen.
Listen, I am Is It Camp's hetero correspondent, so there is that.
Right. Well, anyway, next Sunday, May 18th at 10 a.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. in the UK, we'll do our live stream review of the Interstellar Song Contest.
Warren, look at the smiles on their faces.
I'm happy they're happy. That doesn't make me happy.
I'm glad you're happy.
I'm happy that I'm happy Eurovision people enjoy what they enjoy. I just don't want to hear about it, and now I have to. So.
We'll all hear about it, and you'll hear about it from us next week on Radio Free Skaro.
We'll prop your eyelids open and make you watch.
Yeah, getting a Ludovico me for this one.
Yeah, a Ludovico you for the Strange New Worlds musical episode.
Absolutely not. I will watch this because it's Doctor Who. I will never, ever watch that Strange New Worlds episode.
Listen, RTD has promised a few times that this episode's a lot darker than a lot of people are probably expecting. So perhaps I'm going in. I'm going in with.
We'll see.
I know a load of people really enjoyed Lucky Day.
I'll give it this. It's making me not even think about the last two. So it's doing something right.
Loads of people liked Lucky Day. Loads of people liked the story in the engine. So this is Juno Dawson. The third story in a row, not written by RTD.
That's true.
And even then, The Well was only co-written by RTD.
Yeah, and Redacted was interesting. So yeah,
that's true.
I didn't listen to Redacted, but. Hopefully that sets the stage for Juno Dawson being a worthy writer.
We'll see.
We'll see. And hear and sing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway,
Murray Gold writing.
Murray Gold writing 4 songs.
That's the worst part. Forget about the Eurovision part. Murray Gold writing 4 songs. That's a terrorist act.
We could have 4 remixes of the Goblin song.
Oh, great, wonderful.
I was talking myself into looking forward to this, Chris, and now
yeah, and you just had to drop that bomb.
Less so. Next week, Interstellar Song Contest. In the meantime, and in between time, I'm Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.